Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. There was a shopping list on the fridge. It read, milk, spinach, dish soap, divorce papers. At first, I thought it was a joke. I stood there, blinking, my hand still holding the fridge door open while the cold air spilled over my bare feet. But it wasn't a joke. Under the note was a manila envelope. Her handwriting on it. My full name. Neat and sharp like she'd written it on a check. That was how it started. No fight. No dramatic exit. Just a casual Tuesday morning, one slice of burnt toast, and my wife deciding she no longer wanted to be my wife. I didn't even take the milk out. I just closed the door and sat on the kitchen floor. Let me be clear. I'm not brave. I'm not strong. I'm the guy who apologizes when someone else bumps into him. So no, I didn't confront her. I didn't throw the papers across the room. I just texted her. Hey, saw the note. Are you okay? She replied 6 hours later. I'm at Shelley's. I think this is best for both of us. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Harder than it needs to be? I was still wearing pajama pants at 3 p.m., staring at a bowl of cereal I hadn't touched, wondering if I was legally allowed to eat ice cream in the middle of a breakdown. She didn't come home that night, or the next. She took her yoga mat, her laptop, and the toothbrush she always told me to stop using because it vibrated like a chainsaw. By Friday, her friend Shelley unfollowed me on Instagram. That's when I realized it was planned, coordinated, like I was the last guy in a surprise party, except the surprise was that I wasn't invited. But here's the twist. By Monday, she was back. No warning. Just walked in with that same yoga mat and a plastic bag of groceries like nothing happened. She looked me in the eye and said something I'll never forget. I made a mistake. I didn't know what I was thinking. She wanted to talk. She wanted forgiveness. She wanted me. And while she talked, I stayed calm. I didn't say a word, because I already knew something she didn't. Something that would change everything. She stood there in our kitchen like she hadn't left a note that ended a marriage. Holding oat milk, of all things. Like we were about to have a casual Sunday brunch. My body was still. My mind wasn't. I felt like I was watching a movie where I was the background character who doesn't know he's been written out of the script. I made a mistake, she said again, as if repeating it would erase everything. It was a moment. I panicked. I thought I needed space, but what I needed was you. I wanted to scream, but instead I just stirred my coffee. Quietly. I didn't even take a sip. Just stirred it like it was the only thing keeping me grounded in reality. I looked at her. Her cheeks were flushed, and her eyes were trying to water, but they didn't. She was trying to look broken, but all I saw was performance. You left me with a grocery list and legal documents, I said. You didn't panic. You planned. She blinked like she didn't expect me to speak. I think she expected the usual. Me, folding, apologizing, offering tea. But I had spent the last few days learning how to breathe without her. And oddly enough, I had started liking the silence. No more walking on eggshells. No more trying to make her laugh when she clearly didn't want to smile. She sat at the table across from me. Lowell, please, can we just talk? Talk. Now she wanted to talk? I'd begged for conversations for months. About the coldness, the distance, the way she kept turning away even when she was lying next to me. I'd asked her if she still loved me once, just once, in a moment of vulnerability, and she told me not to get dramatic. But now she was here, acting like I was the one who abandoned her. I stood up and walked to the hallway. I opened the drawer and took out the envelope. Not the one with the divorce papers, the one I had started assembling after I found the messages. Yeah, I didn't stay calm because I was clueless. I stayed calm because I already knew. Her phone had been left unlocked on the nightstand last week. She was in the shower, and I'd seen them. The text to Chris with AK. She wasn't subtle. The kind of messages you don't send to a friend. Screenshots I hadn't shown her. Yet, I placed the printed photos on the table, face up. Her smile in selfie form, lips puckered, time-stamped at midnight. His response, can't wait till he's out of the picture. You're mine soon. She froze. I sat down again, quietly, stirred my coffee one more time, and finally took a sip. Her mouth opened, but I stopped her. I know what you're going to say, I whispered. You didn't mean it. It wasn't serious. You were confused. You made a mistake. You chose me. But Blythe, you didn't choose me. You just didn't choose him fast enough. She covered her face with both hands. But I didn't comfort her. I didn't move. I just sat there, finally understanding what it felt like to hold power in a relationship where I'd always been the one crawling back. and I still hadn't told her everything I knew. She didn't say a word for nearly a full minute. Just sat there, hands over her face, like hiding could reverse time. I watched her fingers twitch. She wasn't crying. She was calculating. I knew that look now. I had memorized it during the slow collapse of our marriage. The way she paused just long enough to turn a truth into a half-truth into a performance. And I'd fallen for it too many times. But not today. When she finally spoke, her voice was hoarse. It wasn't serious. He was just someone I vented to. You were so distant. You always seemed small, Lowell. Like you were disappearing into yourself. That word hit me harder than the affair. Small. Like I was less than. Insignificant. I had begged her for connection, not with yelling or ultimatums, but with stupid things. Making her tea she never drank. Putting sticky notes on the fridge with dumb jokes. Recommending shows we could watch together, even though she always said she was too tired and ended up scrolling on her phone beside me in silence. And now, the reason she gave for cheating was that I had made myself invisible trying to keep her close. I didn't speak. I wanted to say 1,000 things, but I kept them bottled. I think I just stared at her. That silence, it made her more nervous than shouting would've. She picked up the photo, the one of her smiling in his car. She traced the edge with her finger like it might dissolve if she handled it gently enough. Then she whispered, "How long have you known?" "Since the day after you left," I replied flatly. But that's not the part that surprised me. She looked up, confused. "What shocked me," I continued, "was how fast you came back. Not because you missed me, but because he didn't want you either." That cracked something in her expression. The truth in her eyes flickered, and I knew I was right. She hadn't returned out of love. She'd returned out of rejection. I could have stopped there, but I didn't. I got up, walked to the closet, and brought out the small gray suitcase she had packed when she left. The same one she dragged out of here like she was done forever. I dropped it beside the table with a soft thud. "Unpack if you want," I said. "But if you're staying here, it's not because I forgave you. It's because I'm not finished watching you squirm." She stood up abruptly. "You can't treat me like this, Lowell. I made a mistake, but I'm still your wife." I laughed, actually laughed, and it startled even me. "You were my wife. Now you're just someone I used to microwave soup for." Her face went pale, and for the first time, she didn't have a line prepared. No clever defense. No, "You're overreacting." Just silence. And in that silence, I saw it clearly. She had no idea who I was anymore. She expected the pushover. The man who once apologized for buying the wrong kind of lettuce. The man who once wrote her love letters she never even read. But that man was gone, and the one sitting across from her had already made a decision. She just didn't know what it was yet. She didn't touch the suitcase. She didn't sit back down. She just stood there, arms tight across her chest like she was bracing for a storm she once thought I wasn't capable of. It was strange seeing her like that, nervous. For years, she'd carried herself like she held the upper hand in every room, including this one. And now, for the first time, she looked like the walls were closing in on her. "You don't want to work through this?" she asked, voice trembling with that sharp edge people use when they realize they're no longer in control. "You don't want to talk to someone? A counselor? I'm trying here." "You tried 3 nights in someone else's car," I said. "Now you're trying to fix a mirror you already smashed." She blinked hard, but I wasn't done. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table, lowering my voice the way she always hated. Calm, quiet, unshakable. "You didn't just walk out. You detonated our marriage and expected to come back to the ashes and find me still sitting in the smoke, waiting. You think I haven't suffered?" she snapped. "Do you know how humiliating it is to come back and admit I was wrong?" There it was again, her. It was always about her. Her struggle, her image, her discomfort. Never the man she'd left behind like an old sweater, only to come crawling back when her rebound turned out to be just another guy who wanted the chase, not the baggage. I stood and walked to the sink. My coffee had gone cold. I poured it out and let the silence fill the space she used to occupy with meaningless noise. She watched me, probably wondering why I wasn't falling apart, why I wasn't throwing things or crying or begging her to stay. But that version of me didn't exist anymore. He died somewhere between the first lie and the last deleted text. I talked to Chris, I said without turning around. Dead silence behind me. I emailed him, told him I knew everything, attached the screenshots, asked him to confirm whether this was some kind of game to him or if he genuinely planned to make you his forever after destroying someone else's. Her voice came out in a whisper. You what? Now I turned. Slowly. He replied. Said you were fun, but too emotionally high maintenance, and that he was never serious about stealing anyone's wife. He apologized for the confusion. She looked like I'd slapped her, but I didn't enjoy it. I didn't even feel vindicated. It just confirmed what I already suspected. She left me for a fantasy, and the fantasy had already replaced her. I didn't know, she mumbled, eyes wide and vacant. I didn't think, he said. You didn't think at all. I cut in. You gambled our entire marriage on a man who used phrases like emotional high maintenance. That's who you chose over me. She sat down again, but now she wasn't pleading or defensive. She just looked empty, hollow, like a balloon with all the air sucked out. I almost pitied her. Almost. But I remembered the envelope, the note on the fridge, the hours I sat in silence wondering what I'd done wrong while she was sending pictures of her dinner to another man. I remembered the night she told me she felt stuck, while already fantasizing about someone who made her feel free. And suddenly, the pity vanished. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, I said, walking past her. Her head snapped up. But whatever I choose, it won't be about you anymore. That's the one thing I know for sure. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was heartbroken or confused, but because my mind wouldn't stop circling the question, why did she really come back? The obvious answer was rejection. Chris had tossed her aside, and I was the backup plan. But something didn't sit right with that. She could have ghosted me and moved on quietly. But she didn't. She returned like someone who needed something, like someone with unfinished business. And I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding more. The next morning, I pretended everything was normal. I made 2 cups of coffee. I didn't ask her to stay or leave. I just let her sit at the table while I scrolled through my emails, watching her from the corner of my eye. She looked restless, constantly glancing at her phone, fidgeting with her necklace, chewing her lip. She was waiting for something or someone. At noon, she said she was going for a walk. I nodded. The moment the door closed, I followed. Quietly. I stayed far enough back that she wouldn't notice, crossing the street when needed, ducking behind a hedge when she paused. I didn't have a plan. I just needed to know where she was really going. She didn't go to the park or the cafe. She walked straight into the downtown library. Odd, considering she hadn't stepped foot in a library in years. I waited across the street, confused, until 10 minutes later when she walked back out with a man. Not Chris. Someone older, balding, wearing a suit too expensive for a casual meeting. They didn't touch. They didn't smile. But they spoke with that intensity, the kind of hushed conversation people have when something serious is on the line. I snapped a photo from behind a tree. I didn't know why, just instinct. She returned an hour later and acted like nothing happened. She made herself tea, watched a cooking show, asked if I wanted to order Thai food. It was like she'd switched into some artificial version of herself. All polite tones and surface-level questions, like a stranger trying to blend in. That night, after she fell asleep on the couch, I took her phone. She'd changed the password. But I'd lived with her long enough to know she always recycled the same 4-digit codes. I got it on the 3rd try. And there it was. A thread of messages labeled Michael, legal. At first glance, it looked innocent, businesslike. But the more I read, the colder my blood ran. She wasn't just preparing for divorce. She was preparing to strip me bare. Bank account movements, property clauses, delay filing until he reacts emotionally. One message said, once he breaks down or lashes out, we file with full leverage. Leverage. I stared at that word like it was written in flames. She hadn't come back because of guilt, or love, or even rejection. She'd come back to bait me, to document my reaction, to twist my hurt into a weapon she could use in court. She wanted the house, the savings, my retirement. She wanted to walk away clean, leaving me buried in legal ash. I stood over her, watching her sleep like nothing was happening, like she wasn't actively planning to destroy the rest of my life while curled up in a blanket I once bought her for our anniversary. I took screenshots. Every message, every name, every plan. Then I put the phone back, careful not to wake her. Because now it was my turn to plan something, and she would never see it coming. I didn't sleep that night either. I sat at the edge of the bed like a man waiting for a fire alarm to go off. Every breath she took behind me felt heavier than it should, and all I could think about was how methodical her betrayal had become. This wasn't an affair. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It was an ambush. Years of knowing how I think, how I react, and using all of that to set a legal trap with my name written all over it. By morning, I was calm. Not numb. Not cold. Just focused. She asked if I wanted pancakes. I said yes. I watched her flip them with that casual rhythm, humming a song she used to play on vinyl in our early years. I wondered if she was humming it because she was trying to fool me, or if she'd actually convinced herself that this was fine, that we were fine. I spent the next few hours doing what she never expected. I smiled. I joked. I let her think her plan was working. And in that time, I moved our joint savings, my portion legally, into a separate account. I contacted my cousin, who happened to work with a financial advisor in Burlington. I forwarded the screenshots to my attorney, a quiet, analytical man named Stewart, who had once told me over coffee, "The people who smile while betraying you are the most dangerous." By lunch, I had already contacted my employer and asked to change the direct deposit. I even backed up all the files on my work laptop and changed every password I could think of, including the alarm system code she still knew by heart. I canceled the auto delivery for her favorite coffee beans. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was removing every comfortable foothold she had in my life. She noticed something was off when she walked into the home office and found the printer tray full of legal papers. She picked up one of the pages and read the headline, "Amended Will and Asset Protection Strategy." Her eyes met mine like she was just realizing the wolf had teeth after all. "What is this?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Insurance," I replied without looking up. She scoffed, tossed the paper down. "This is ridiculous, Lowell. You're being paranoid. You're blowing this out of proportion." I read your messages to Michael. The room dropped into silence, so thick I could hear the refrigerator hum in the next room. She didn't even try to deny it. Just stood there frozen, mouth slightly open like a puppet whose strings had been cut mid-performance. "You were going to bait me," I said quietly, turning toward her now. "You were hoping I'd snap, cry, scream, hit a wall. Anything you could take to court and spin as instability. You weren't here to reconcile. You were collecting ammunition." She finally spoke, and her voice was dry as paper. "It's not like that." "No." I leaned forward. "Then tell me what part one misunderstood. The part where you called me predictably fragile, or the part where you discussed hiding the timing of the filing so I'd be too emotionally scrambled to respond in court." She tried to say something else, but I stood. Not yelling, not dramatic, just firm. "You played me like a weak man, like someone who wouldn't notice until it was too late. But you forgot that people like me, people who stay quiet, who let things slide, we don't scream when we're done. We just stop holding back." I walked past her, heart steady, thoughts clear. And right before I left the room, I turned back and added one final thing. "I hope he was worth it. Not Chris. Michael. Because he's about to lose a license over this." Her face dropped. That was the first time I saw actual fear in her eyes. It was the first time she realized she hadn't just lost control of me. She had set fire to her own escape plan, and I was walking away while she stood in the flames. She didn't speak to me for the rest of the day. Not a word. She sulked around the house like a ghost that had forgotten how to haunt. At one point, I caught her pacing in the guest room on the phone with someone, whispering urgently, probably trying to patch the hole in her plan before it sank completely. Too late. Michael was already on borrowed time. My lawyer had taken the messages, the dates, the annotations, and had a scheduled hearing to submit a formal complaint to the state bar. Turns out, advising a client on how to emotionally provoke her husband to secure a better divorce outcome wasn't exactly considered ethical practice. I didn't expect her to fall apart right away. No, Callie was proud. Or stubborn. Maybe both. She made dinner like everything was normal. Chicken, wild rice, steamed carrots. She even set the table for two and poured wine into her glass, but left mine empty, as if trying to signal that she still had some kind of leverage. I sat down, stared at the plate, then got up and scraped everything into the trash without taking a bite. Her eyes followed me the entire time, wide and furious, but she didn't say a word. She knew better now. The next morning, I took the day off from work. I needed space. Not physical space, mental space. Time to think clearly. So I drove to my sister Elaine's house, a half-hour away. She knew everything now. I had broken down in front of her the night I discovered the legal scheme, and her reaction was the first thing that made me feel human again. She didn't say, "I told you so." She didn't suggest therapy. She just said, "You're not crazy, lol." She is. And that felt like oxygen. Elaine handed me a flash drive that morning. "You might want this," she said. "I didn't want to show you before unless you were serious about walking away." "What is it?" She reached out to Brian last week. Brian, my best friend since college. The one who ghosted me after Callie filed for divorce. The one who hadn't returned a single call since she came back. The pit in my stomach grew deeper. Brian recorded the call. She didn't know. I took the drive with shaking hands and plugged it into my laptop right there at the kitchen counter. Elaine walked out of the room to give me space, and I hit play. Callie's voice was crystal clear. No hesitation. No remorse. "Lowell doesn't know anything yet. He'll fold, like he always does. I just need to stay calm, document everything. My lawyer said one emotional outburst, and we've got the house, the account, everything. If he loses it in front of witnesses, even better. Brian, I need you to talk to him. Nudge him. Get in his head a little." Then a pause. Brian's voice, low, hesitant. "You're asking me to manipulate him?" "No," she replied sweetly. "I'm asking you to help him realize he's already lost." I couldn't listen to the rest. My hands were clenched so tightly around the laptop edge that the metal groaned. The betrayal wasn't just from her. It was from someone I considered family. She had turned everyone I trusted into chess pieces, and somehow expected me to play the game blindfolded. I stood in Elaine's driveway 10 minutes later, gripping the flash drive like a detonator. And in that moment, I knew exactly what to do. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't even going to confront Brian. No, I was going to end the game before she made her next move. And this time, I wasn't going to warn her first. When I got home that night, she was sitting on the couch, legs tucked beneath her like she belonged there. She looked up when I walked in, eyes cautious, mouth slightly parted like she was ready to deliver another carefully rehearsed excuse. But I didn't give her the chance. "I know everything," I said flatly. "Not just the texts. Not just the legal plot. I heard the call. The one you made to Brian." She froze. And for the first time, she didn't even try to deny it. Her mouth slowly closed. Her lips pressed into a hard line. And I saw the truth written all over her face. She knew it was over. Not just the game. The entire illusion. I walked past her and opened the drawer where we kept our important documents. Inside was a second manila envelope. This time, with my name written neatly across the front. I handed it to her. "What is this?" she asked, voice barely audible. "My divorce terms. Signed and reviewed. You won't be getting the house. You won't be touching the savings. And the court will receive copies of the call, the texts, and your little strategy session with your lawyer." She looked like she might cry. Not from heartbreak. Callie didn't cry for love. She cried for lost leverage. For losing a game she was sure she'd already won. "I loved you once," I told her. "Even when it hurt. Even when you made me feel like I didn't exist. But love without respect is just slow self-destruction. And I'm done doing that to myself." I packed her things that night. All of them. Gave her 2 days to find another place. She didn't argue. She didn't scream. She just nodded, defeated. And when she left for the second time, this time with no plan, no angle, no backup, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. Weeks later, the paperwork was finalized. Her lawyer dropped the case after being flagged for misconduct. Brian sent a pathetic apology text that I didn't bother replying to. And me? I started hiking again. Reconnected with my sister. Got a cat that actually prefers me for once. My house is quiet, sure, but peaceful. For the first time in years, I can breathe without walking on eggshells. Funny thing is, I didn't burn anything down. I didn't seek revenge. I just stopped letting someone else write my ending. And that made all the difference. Thanks for sticking with me. If you've ever experienced betrayal, manipulation, or just survived a toxic situation, drop a comment about a surprising or powerful moment from history that helped you find your strength again. We read everything. And don't forget, you're watching Reddit Confessions. Until next time.